Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Jabbering Jake Podcast, Episode 2. So, some things I want to get out of the way first. As I mentioned, I would be setting up a YouTube channel for this podcast, and I have. It is live now at YouTube. Just search for the Jabbering Jake Podcast. You should be able to find it there, no problem. I have also made a Patreon for any of you generous enough to want to donate to that. Help us grow the podcast. And as the production increases and improves, I'm hoping to improve the rewards and the tiers that I can give. But there's 3 tiers on there right now, so go check it out if you want, or don't. Either way is fine. You'll still get the full Jabbering Jake podcast experience. But on that note, I do want to just say how grateful I have been so far for all the support from the people I've shared it with. Whether you're being too kind or you're being genuine, I really do appreciate the feedback. And I do like to think that I get some pretty genuine people giving genuine feedback and that this podcast is doing well. Episode 1, I would say, was off to a good start, although it was definitely a bit all over the place, a bit stream of consciousness. But that's all right because, it was sort of just me introducing myself. And it was the first episode, so we have nowhere to go but up from here. It can only get better and better. And this time, I'm going to get a bit more energy going. I don't have to worry so much about waking up my brother this time. I don't even think he can hear me, to be honest. And if he can, he doesn't seem to mind. He's got his headphones in anyway, so we're good. I'm also going to try and get more than one note because it was pretty monotone last time. I mean, I listened back to it and it was kind of like one of those automated phone directories when you're calling anywhere and you call it, hello, you have reached some company's automated calling directory. To reach one annoying menu, press 1. To reach the other annoying second level menu, press 2. Para servicio en español, presione 8. Something like that. But this time we're gonna get some different notes in there, and that's that. Now, I'm in a pretty well sound isolated environment, but every once in a while maybe we'll hear the dogs making noise, hopefully not, or the HVAC, the air conditioning unit in my house kick on, which it doesn't just kick on like to cool the house down and stuff like that. There's also a device that kicks on that like sucks all the condensation out of it so it doesn't build up on the HVAC and damage it. And every once in a while when it's doing that, it makes a sound like somebody that is using an illicit substance. And so I decided to give, because we always joke, my brother and I, that it's our roommate and that he is, doing his illicit substances. And I nicknamed him Jack, as in Jack the Ripper. Now, if you understand that joke, great. If you don't understand that joke, perfectly fine. Perhaps even better that way. But that's what's going on in the house right now. And like I said, we're going to start this one off on the right note. Start off with a little bit. So my brother and I were talking last night about, how things are a little bit different now since we moved. This sort of arrangement we got going right now. And he said to me, he's like, I'm kind of living a bit of a minimalist lifestyle. He's like, well, not quite like minimalist, but you know what I mean, like downsize quite a bit. And of course, we were joking around and talking about the minimalist lifestyle. And it's always like some guy that's like, yeah, I really I was in a corporate job, really, really high ranking in this company. I was up for a promotion. I was going to have it all. And I just realized that my mental health was getting bad. I was getting burnt out. And one day I just said, you know what? Forget all this. Forget this modern society. So I quit my job. I sold all my possessions. And I've been living the minimalist lifestyle, living in a tent out in the woods. Just really finding myself again, reconnecting with myself and with nature, and realizing what it is to be human again and unplugged. And obviously a joke, but it's crazy how little some people can live with. I mean, I've seen, sort of these minimalists where they barely need any space. Like chickens in a chicken coop get more space. It's like, yeah, so this is my house. It's a coffin. No, not like one of those nice coffins that people bury their loved ones in that they definitely spend way too much money on. No, this is just a few pieces of plywood that I made myself, basically. And I have half a pillow and an egg salad sandwich, and that's everything I own. There's got to be a happy medium. How about a medialist lifestyle? You don't need all the maximalist, like, excess everything, but maybe somewhere in the middle, That's, maybe that's where I'd like to fall. I kind of like to have not too much stuff, so it's easy to keep tidy. But, don't get me wrong, I like my creature comforts, my modern luxuries that, we're privileged enough to have here. So, I gotten a better microphone than the one I'm still using right now for this, because like the dummy that I am, I did not check to see what comes with the microphone when I ordered it. And it didn't come with the cord that I need for it, and it's not just some USB plug-in mic like the one I'm using right now, which also the cord for this one came with it. It's one of those fancy XLR 3-pin mics that musicians plug in, except it's more set up for podcasting and stuff. It's not like a stage mic. But I was a dummy and didn't see that it didn't come with a cord, so yeah, I'm waiting until that gets in. It should get in tomorrow, and I would have recorded this tomorrow once I had that in, but, commitments and scheduling dictated that I should record this episode tonight. So here we are, and you know what? This microphone's fine. It has served me well so far. It's not going to be sent to the graveyard. I'm still going to use it, because it's a decent microphone. Maybe when I'm gaming online with my friends, whenever I get better internet than 3 megabits per second here, which hopefully I can. Like I said, at this point, I am about ready to just climb up that tree myself and just attach my little Starlink up there. Because, man, when it's good, it's good. But like I said, every 10 seconds, it's like, oh, by the way, we're blocked by that tree there. So it's all good. But that's a bit of a tangent. Like I said, I'll keep this microphone around, maybe use it when I'm talking to friends online and stuff. But I got the better microphone, not necessarily just because of the podcast, although I definitely will be using it for that, and it was another source of motivation, but also because your boy wants to get into voice acting, and I've been investing in some stuff for that. That's why I got the insulation set up here in this closet. I'm in a very acoustically isolated closet, sweating my butt off. I think even more so than from my workout at the gym today, which I don't know if that bodes poorly for my workout routine, my level of effort, or just how hot it is in here. Even though I'm in a house with AC, but I'm in the closet letting off body heat. The other thing the new microphone came without was a stand, and that I could improvise something, but yeah, that's an issue I didn't look into. But yeah, voice acting, it's been something I want to get into. When I was growing up, I was always in plays and theater productions for a while, and I really loved it. I love being a goofball and pretending and playing make-believe and stuff like that. Well, I guess that's why I like Dungeons and Dragons so much. Like I said in the last episode, I started that recently because you just get to act, and it's really cool. You get to, suspend your disbelief for a while. And so as I got older, I was like, yeah, well, I'm not going to be an actor like in movies or on stages and stuff at this point. Not to say that I gave up on a dream like that or anything, but just I'm like, it doesn't seem feasible for me right now, and I'm not that passionate about going out and trying to pursue it. But I did want to give voice acting a try because it does really seem like fun, and I definitely miss the theatrical side of things. So right now I'm just at the stage where I just audition for as much as I can, learn as much as I can, and hone my skills. Kind of like with this podcast. So I invested in the mic and the soundproofing installation for this place and all the fancy, still on a budget equipment, that I have right now, in order to grow sort of both of these things. And, hopefully you'll be hearing good news, both about the podcast and the potential voice acting side hustle, one day. And it's funny because I do kind of do some form of voice acting, I guess you could say, if you stretch the truth a little bit, in that I tend to, and this isn't a uniquely me thing, I think this is a thing that people just do in general, but kind of I tend to talk more like the people where I am when I'm there. So like I said, I'm originally from Vermont, and I wouldn't say I really talk like a Vermonter that much. A little bit maybe, but not really that much. But certainly, I talk like somebody probably from New England or whatever. But now that I'm in Alabama, again, I'm not taking on a full-on Southern drawl, but I definitely am saying things more in the way that they say things down here. I was saying y'all way before I came down here because it's just convenient. It's an unambiguous way to address a group of people, and I think everybody should adopt that habit because why not? It's so, easy to make it clear whether you're talking to one person or you're talking to a group of people. But, saying things like, oh, so-and-so is fixing to do this or things like that. And I'm sure some degree of it is subconscious, but at the same time, I'm kind of conscious of it, and I like to play around with the way I talk intentionally. An interesting thing is, I tended, especially in school, in university, to talk and say things in ways that made me sound less educated than I am, intentionally. And you might wonder why. And, I think a big factor, a deeper reason behind that was sort of a rebellious, like defiant sort of thing. I went to let's just say my university was quite the tough one. Wasn't the best few years of my life. It was a very tough, rigorous program, and I honestly didn't get out of my shell as much as I should have. And I think I kind of started to build up resentment against the school and against the city that I was studying in. And so I wonder if me sort of purposely talking to sound like I was not on track to get a college degree was a bit of defiance to like hold on to my roots and be like, nah, I may be here, but I'm not a part of this, which is a really cynical and kind of dickish way to look at things. That, of course, in hindsight, 2020 vision, I definitely, amongst many things, wish I could have done that a lot better. I don't know. I wouldn't say I talk in just a dumb, uneducated way, but just a lot more slang, a lot more local jargon, and stuff like that you would not be putting in a PhD dissertation. Let's just put it that way. But it's funny. As stressful and as resentful and stuff as I was, I always said I wouldn't miss it. I always said, I don't care about going to graduation. I just have them mail me the degree, and adults and my parents and stuff telling me like, oh, you're going to miss it. Trust me, you're going to miss it. You're going to, once you finally get through it, like you're going to want to walk across that stage and get your degree. And I always kept saying, no, I won't. But damn it, I hate that people were so right about that. I do miss it. Looking back, I can appreciate it for what it was. And it certainly wasn't perfect. I didn't make the most of my college experience, but, looking back at it, it really was still, all things considered, a great time. There were a lot of highs, even amongst the lows that I had, and it really did mean a lot to me to be able to attend a convocation ceremony and walk across and accept the diploma. And to be clear, I always would have gone anyway, if not for me, at least for my mother, because, obviously it was something that was really important to her, and she was very proud of me for that. But it's kind of funny because I mentioned how I wouldn't go to the convocation or graduation ceremony. I would just have them mail me my degree. But the funny thing is, I still kind of did both. I went to the ceremony, but I also had them mail me my degree. And the reason for that was, I had them like rush the delivery to me, not waiting for the convocation, especially because of the way COVID was happening, and our ceremonies were kind of put off. I hadn't had my degree, and I needed it for an opportunity I was applying for. So, as I mentioned last time, I'm very, passionate and passionate about and fascinated with Japan. And so much so that I really want to go visit and even, maybe go experience living there for a few years, because that's, I want to travel the world and just go on adventures and see what other parts of the world is like. And Japan is like at the top of that bucket list right now. So I applied for something called the JET program. And essentially what that is you apply to go over there for at least a year to be an assistant language teacher, helping to teach students English. Now, mind you, I am not really a teacher per se. It's not the profession I've chosen to go into. I'm a software dev. I write code. But it was one of those things where it was just, I wanted an opportunity to get into the country and live there for a while. And, maybe now if I were to go, I would be a bit smarter about it and maybe apply through some other foreign work programs or for software development or stuff like that. But long story short, I went through that process applying, and I did get rejected, which was disappointing. But of course, your boy's not going to give up. If he really is passionate about something and wants to do it, he's going to find ways. And so, funnily enough, there was a second thing, Interact, which is another sort of similar thing to the JET program. Applied through that, got rejected for that too, but your boy still wasn't going to give up. One way or another, I was going to find a way one day to get into Japan. And, my old university email is still active, and I'll check it every now and then just to clean it out and stuff like that. And usually the emails really aren't pertinent to me anymore. It's just school admin stuff, which is like, oh, cool, but this doesn't affect me anymore. But one day I'm going through cleaning out the inbox, and I see something about this opportunity called Come On Out Japan. And it was, a very similar concept. You go over there, you teach English to Japanese students, but this was just like a 5-week thing over the summer. And you only do it on the weekends. The rest of the weeks you're sort of exploring around. It's an unpaid internship, but they cover your expenses. Like they arrange you with housing, and they give you a food allowance and stuff like that. And so I said, oh. And it was open to current students or recent graduates. I said, oh, that sounds like a cool opportunity. So I talked to my buddy Carl, who's also interested in Japan and who also had graduated around the same time as me. And I said, oh, let's take a look at this. And so We went to the info session. I think I was still pretty interested in it. He was not as much. And so I said, well, what the heck? I'm going to take a shot. And so I applied, and I was going through it. And, the thing is that, of course, because of this damn pandemic, there was a wrench thrown into things. And, of course, that program, while usually in person over there, this year was going to be virtual. And I remember when I was applying for the thing, they had a questionnaire that said, well, would you be interested in doing it even if it's online? And I remember I ticked the box no. And thank goodness that they probably had the foresight that people would say that and maybe change their minds, because I had gotten an email, a while after the application process that said, hey, you're invited to the next stage of interviews. It's going to be virtual this year. We understand some people want to do in person. If you no longer wish to participate, just email us back saying so. And I remember saying, like, oh yeah, no, I'm not interested in doing it virtually. Like, I'll email them. And I have to say, luckily, the default was, okay, we assume you want to unless you tell us otherwise, because if it had been the other way around, I probably would have missed the opportunity. Because I was thinking, okay, I'm not going to, and I'll think about what I'm going to email them and tell them. And mind you, I had a month to do this before they would start scheduling the interviews. And I remember, like, hey, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to, I want to go there. I want to, I don't want to be online, Zoom or whatever. Like, I've been there, done that. I'll probably be living in a house in Alabama that has only, really crappy internet. No, I wasn't saying that. I didn't have that kind of future sight. Otherwise, maybe I'd be a millionaire somewhere predicting the market or something for investors. I don't know. But the point is, I wasn't going to do it. I was really set on not doing it. And so I was going to reject the opportunity. And of course, the more I thought about it, the more I started to think, like, wait a minute, you're being selfish. I said to myself, you're being selfish. You're kind of being stubborn. So I thought about how I originally wasn't doing the program for the benefit of the students, which is, what it should be about. But I was doing it for myself because I just wanted to get over there. And I said, why? Don't be like that. Do the program. And I also thought, like, besides, if you really want to get into Japan and apply to maybe other programs to get into Japan, wouldn't this be a great experience to have on your resume to show them? And whether you get to go there or not, you get to interact with Japanese people and learn more about their lives and interact with students there. And even though I wasn't a teacher, I was a camp counselor and a camp director at one point for summer camps, and there's nothing more rewarding than mentoring kids and just seeing the impact your work has on them. So I finally shook myself out of it and said, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. And so, I went through the interviews. I went through the first interview with the guy on the sort of the Canada or the McGill or whatever side. Not McGill. He wasn't associated with McGill. He was associated with the program. And he was really happy with the interview. He thought it went well, and he straight up told me, he's like, yeah, he said, I'm going to recommend you, pass you on to the next step. So wait to hear back. It was going to be about another month. And then I had the next interview, and I'm going to jump ahead in time for a minute and basically give the gist of the program. So it's a weekend-long thing. You have a group of students somewhere from like lower middle school age to high school age. They're at this school called Toshin. It's a Japanese cram school, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically the school that you go to outside of school when you're really trying to, cram more knowledge into your head to get into a prestigious university that you want. And so this was a cram school program that we were basically doing. So it was a weekend thing. It is a weekend thing. And basically it centers around helping the students there come up with, or at least express, their life mission in English, and you try and relate it to one of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And, that being said, of course, the interview at the next stage with like the Toshin guy, which is such a disrespectful way to refer to him, but I can't remember his real name. But, with my second interview with him, of course, the question came up with, what is your life mission? And now, I'm 25 years old, and I have some general ideas, but I still am figuring it out, if I'm going to be honest. I would like to, probably that my dream is to make at least one video game that really just reaches out to people with a positive message and influences the lives of several people to inspire them. But I thought, that goal is not going to be what they want to hear for this, And, of course, everybody's got the classic answer of, oh, well, I want to make the world a better place and make people happy. And I'm like, yeah, everyone says that. That's not going to be good enough. So, as any student has probably done at one point in their life, some better at it than others, I prepared as much bullshit as I could off the cuff about how I wanted to get involved with companies that are expanding the infrastructure of developing nations to bring them, software and technology. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't want to do that in some roundabout way, maybe more through donations and investments than directly. But it certainly wasn't something that had been on my heart for years, or thinking about for several years, as it maybe seemed like to him. It was kind of off the cuff. And again, he sort of said, I'll get back to you. But he said, honestly, he said, you gave some pretty good answers. And he said, I like to make a diverse group of people. And he said, I always like to have a couple software guys in there. So I was like, great, that bodes well. And sure enough, I got accepted to the program. And one of the weekends we had going for it was actually just this past weekend. And, oh my God, the nerves. Of course I was nervous going into it because, we're kind of told our homeroom, we're split up into many groups called homerooms. And our homeroom basically had the most beginner students. And I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? I don't know how well I'll be able to communicate with the students, and I don't know all the teaching tips and stuff. I know summer camp stuff. And of course, I was nervous about how well my internet would perform, which, just a side note, were pretty well-founded fears because I kept disconnecting and dropping out of calls so often over the weekend. Luckily for just a second or two, and luckily coaches were paired up, so I wasn't just disappearing and leaving the students without a teacher. That would have been more problematic, and it's a possibility that could still happen because we're not usually paired up. But I was so nervous going into it. We had a group of 4 students, and out of this group, where we were the most sort of beginner students, we had some on the younger side. We had all junior high school students. We didn't have the youngest group because we all had all third-year middle school students, which I think that's about in their equivalent of like 9th grade, I think. The students were all like 14 and 15, so right around there. And, I didn't know how it was going to go. And, of course, at first, the students are very shy. They're very, reluctant to open up. They're a bit nervous and quiet and, would take a bit longer to speak in English and go through the exercises. And that was another thing. It wasn't every single exercise was about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, although the second day of the program was a lot of that. But there were just other, speaking exercises built in there. But, our group was a very quiet, very shy sort of group. They started to open up a little bit, but, they were early in their journey learning English. But by the third day, which was the life mission presentations for the students, Oh my goodness. These kids blew me away. I mean, they knocked it out of the park. You give them enough time to sort of to write things down and practice and rehearse their speeches, and man, these kids were rock stars, and I was so proud of the development that they went through over this weekend. Especially with, dude, there were some, like, some of these goals that, like, I was having a hard time understanding as a native English speaker. I was going through some of these, like, needing a literal dictionary almost just to understand some of them. It's like, okay, sustainable infrastructure, equitable. I mean, I know those words separately. I was doing a bad job of trying to come up with complex words that I don't know because, well, the words that I don't know. I only know the words I know. But these kids were, like, tackling them with such insight and like really giving good presentations about them. And I was like, man, that's crazy. Even, we had a student in our group who, wasn't quite sure what his life mission was and stuff. And of course I said, well, that's okay. Because let's be honest, I still don't even really know. But, of course, for junior high school students, even more so. I mean, to know what you want to study in college, even, you might not, but most of them did. But one of our students wasn't so sure what his life mission is, what he wanted to do, so he did the most boss move that is absolutely where my mind would have gone to in that position. And he just said he wanted to start a company to help solve the SDGs, and that was the most badass thing ever. Dude, that kid had the right idea, and he's going to go far in life. I mean, they all are. They were all great, and, I miss them. It's a weekend by weekend thing. You get new students, so whenever the next weekend is you do it, you're going to get a different round of students, but they're all going to be great, I'm sure. And so that's just kind of what's been going on lately. That was great, like I said. I'm passing the 30-minute mark here, so I think we're coming up on a good time to close out this episode of the podcast. I finished a pretty good story there anyway, so it just kind of seems like the right time. But I guess while we're talking about life missions and stuff, let's get a little inspirational and just, if you guys have a dream out there, it doesn't matter what stage you are in your life, or if you're not even 100% sure what you want to do, go out and chase that dream, man. I mean, look at me here. I'm doing this podcast because it's just this dream I have to get a message out there and to do something like this. So, we're all doing our best. I've been going to the gym, trying to get in better shape, trying to eat better, self-improvement going all around. So chase that dream. Start with a single step, right? You don't have to start with a sprint, with a marathon. Just start with a step. Just start walking. Even if you don't know what you want to do, start moving towards something. And maybe along the way, even if you're going the wrong way, you'll find the right thing that you want to do. And shoot high. It's like the saying, shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Like, that's what I'm going for now. Like, I've got such big plans for so many goals in my life that are like, there's no way I'm going to accomplish them all, but I am going to pursue them like I'm going to. Because even if I don't, I'll be in such a better place for having chased them. So you guys do the same. And on that same note, other people chasing their dreams, making some content. I shouted out at least one of them last time. But that's my buddy Rob, Cryanova. If you're into gaming content, he streams on Twitch occasionally. He has been playing this game called Clone Hero, which is basically Guitar Hero, but not Guitar Hero, but basically Guitar Hero. And, man, this guy is, this guy would put Slash to shame. And he would definitely disagree with me telling you this, but But the point is, it's a good time, just hanging out, chilling. It's a really chill vibe. It feels like you're sitting there with your buddy just playing games together. And he's also the dungeon master for my D&D sessions, so there you go. And also a YouTube channel that I think I missed last time because I did a really bad job of talking about it, is this YouTube channel called Flat Rock Farmer, a friend of mine from up in Vermont, and I've been watching, his and his wife's videos. He and his wife, they started this channel together. I've been watching their videos recently. They just started it, and it's just a nice, every video so far has just been a nice, relaxing, like take a minute to slow down type of video, a bit of like nostalgia, going back to Vermont, because, I love Vermont. I definitely miss it. I like Alabama, but I miss Vermont too. And the fact that up in Vermont, they don't turn on their blinker just because the person in front of them is turning, which that is a story for next time. But so check out Cryanova on Twitch if that's your thing. If gaming's your thing, check out Flat Rock Farmer on YouTube. If like farming or just relaxing, chill content is your thing, or a cute like cockatoo named Peaches, he's featured in one of their videos. And just again, thank you guys for listening, for the support that I've already gotten so far on this podcast. Like I said, I'll be releasing it weekly on Thursdays. It'll now be uploaded to YouTube. It's available on Anchor, Spotify. We're on Amazon Music now. It should be up on Google Podcasts too. And we're going to keep expanding. So share this with your friends if you think they'll enjoy. Thank you for the support. Check out the Patreon also if you'd like to donate. And I will see all of you next time. Bye.